Hello! Welcome to episode 104 of Levels Plus Whenever. Recorded one day after the Nintendo Direct, and that's what this is going to be all about. Talking about how much good stuff happened during that Direct. And honestly, it was the stuff of dreams. We had dream material over and over and over again during that Direct. It was absolutely wild. So what I'm going to do, as I've done in the past, is instead of watching the entire Direct over again, I'm going to watch my version of the Direct, which edits out the things I'm not interested in. I'll turn the sound off so you don't hear my voice twice. And we'll talk about all of the really amazing things. But before we do that, I do want to jump into what I speculated on. I did go back and watch my speculative thoughts back in May, just to kind of get a reminder of where I was. And I was wrong on a lot of things. Which I'm not surprised, because Nintendo did not treat this as a end of the Switch life cycle like they've done in the past. Like, if you look at the Wii and the Wii U, when we knew that the next system was coming, the content for the systems really died down. But if there's one thing you can say about Nintendo, is that you can never predict what they're going to do. And they proved that with this particular Direct. Just an absolute phenomenal lineup of titles from Nintendo themselves. A brand new top-down Zelda in the Link's Awakening art style, starring Zelda. Metroid Prime 4 coming back after 7 years to finally have its proper gameplay reveal. A new Mario Party that looks like it could be the best ever, and a brand new Mario and Luigi game that has even the cynic in me, who didn't like Superstar Saga, really contemplating picking it up. Plus some really great third-party announcements, a couple really good indie announcements. On the whole, dreams were made. I can't believe it. I'm still in shock. But let's go ahead and move into talking about each of these things individually. Alright, here we are at the start of the Nintendo Direct. So this was about 40-ish minutes altogether. You can see my version's 33, so I cut quite a bit out, in case you didn't watch the actual reaction. But let's go ahead and just get into the Mario and Luigi reveal. This looks so good. I'm really wondering who's doing it for Nintendo. Alpha Dream, the original developers of this series, doesn't exist anymore. They went bankrupt, I think, 2 years ago. There was some sentiments from some reactions about, why didn't Nintendo rescue them? But as far as I understand, Alpha Dream was not a Nintendo-owned studio. They just made these games for Nintendo. So I don't really have a better answer than that. What I can say about this game is that the animation style is charming. It looks really, really good. It looks goofy. And it's new. This is a brand new game in the series. So unlike Super Mario RPG and Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, we're getting a look into the future of what Mario RPGs can look like. And if this is any indication, we have wild character designs that aren't traditional. We have a whimsy that has been sorely lacking from a lot of Mario RPGs until very recently. And it just looks phenomenal. I don't know who's making it. I was kind of running through all of the possibilities of who's free. who would have time to have gotten this game this far along so it could come out in, I want to say, October or November? I don't quite remember when this is happening. I also think the subtitle of Brothership is really good. So November. Because Intelligent Systems just got done with Paper Mario. They're probably working on a Fire Emblem thing. I think they also did the WarioWare that came out last year. I think that's also their wheelhouse. Good Feel just did Princess Peach in their own game, so I don't think they would have the capacity to do it. The one that leaped to mind is Camelot, but Camelot hasn't had the budget to make a game look this nice in years. The last time I remember being blown away by a Camelot title was Mario Golf Toadstool Tour on the GameCube. That's not great, and I don't really know what the issue is in terms of Camelot and budget. But they could, I mean, Mario Golf Super Rush has been out for like 2.5 years now. They've got to be cooking something. Maybe it's this. I don't know. Nintendo's really gotten really bad at not telling us who is developing their games anymore. So yeah, there's 13 games to confirm in this, but it's still, even at post-reaction, I still feel like there's just the thing that made me interested in NES Remix was its remix nature, and this is strictly speedrun challenges. The multiplayer is cool, but I think you're just racing ghost data from other players. So I'm not really sure if that's what people want either. It'd be great if this was like an actual speedrun competition live. But I can't guarantee that. It didn't seem that way because the ghost competitors. So you just kind of play against other people and their rankings through the game, which is cool, but it's not live. And I think if they managed to have made it a live challenge, that would have been a lot more fun. But this is going to probably go for a very specific group of people, and I'm very happy for them, and I hope that they enjoy it. Fantasian! Oh, I was so happy. This was another thing that dreams finally coming true. So following Mario and Luigi, which I'm going to pause for a second because I want to get this point out without getting distracted by moving stuff on screen. Mario and Luigi is a dream game because the people who had worked on all of the prior games no longer exist. We don't know who's working on it now, but whoever is, looks like they got it. They got what that game series is about, and they were doing a fantastic job. Fantasian has been locked to Apple Arcade since like 2020, 2021. And Mistwalker was kind of treating it like this is our last game before Sakaguchi retires. And he didn't really express any interest in having it leave Apple Arcade. That's why we'll probably never see the last story unless Nintendo really forks out some money and does the work themselves. Square Enix steps in to rescue this game from Apple Arcade so it could be played on all consoles, not just the Switch. They've added voice work, they've added a new difficulty option, they put the two parts into a singular unit, and it looks amazing. All of the backgrounds are real, handcrafted dioramas. I said this in my reaction, but I want you to really think about that. All of the things in the background are actual dioramas they made for this game. And they look great against the character models. It's a really strong, distinctive look. It makes this game stand out a lot. I think the combat sounds really interesting in terms of having spells. This looks pretty early on because there's quite a few more party members than just the one woman who does the holy spell. From what I've seen in art and stuff, but I deliberately not learn much about this game because I want to play it. I really want to play it. I hope it comes out physically. That is my one concern. But if it comes out in Japan, I'll import it. But I really want it to come out physically here. Because I have been waiting for this for years. And I'm very excited to finally get my hands on it. I feel sorry for this game. I believe it's Hoa. This game looks incredible. It looks really well done. It's by an indie team that I'm not familiar with, being published by Focus. And it looks really, really good. But it got lost in a direct full of absolute bangers. And I think a lot of people forgot about it by the time that they were thinking, like, post, when they got to the end, it's like, this and this and this and this and this, and then this was never mentioned. It looks great. It looks like it's very fluid in terms of how you control. The fighting looks good. The platforming looks solid. You run up walls. The character design's really interesting. The art style is strong. I want to know more about this game, and I'm glad that I've watched the Direct a few times since, because I would have forgotten completely about this game. And it doesn't deserve to be forgotten. There was just so many things in this Direct. And it just kind of was sandwiched in the headlines awkwardly. Like, it didn't have a preemptive, like, teaser. It just jumped into this trailer, and then it moved back to the headlines. So it just felt kind of oddly placed. But it looks great, and I want to know more about it. But it won't be coming out until next year. Alright, I won't keep you on pins and needles anymore. I can't believe that this is actually a Forever Entertainment venture. That's right. The quote-unquote esteemed remake company that brought you such troubled launch remakes like Panzer Dragoon, House of the Dead, Front Mission 1 and 2, and the upcoming absolutely uninspiring looking remake for Data East Night Slashers. They're the ones porting this game. To their credit, this is probably the best port I've ever seen them do. It looks like the Wii game with better graphics. It makes me wonder how much more Nintendo and Forever are going to work together now that Shiver's been purchased. I feel like Nintendo was looking for a port house and thought they did well enough with Panzer Dragoon or something. I would love to have been a fly on the wall in that conversation, because when I think about developers handling my IP and based on the work of their other releases, Forever Entertainment is very low on my list of people I want touching my content. But I will give them this. Nintendo's probably been watching this very closely and working very closely with them to make sure that it is not shoddy at launch. It is nice that all the 3DS content is also coming along for the ride. It makes me wonder how they're porting it, if it's from the 3DS just directly, or if it's from the Wii and they added the 3DS stuff with the Wii engine. Given the pedigree of Forever, I would think they would take the lazy route, just do the 3DS version. And it's not coming out to early next year anyway. I started laughing because it's just like the ridiculousness of this situation continues to just baffle me. I'm really confused, but I hope it turns out well for Donkey Kong fans. I really do. Dragon Quest III 2D HD finally, after 4 years, got a full-on reveal trailer with lots of gameplay. It looks as beautiful as I hoped it would. And we got the surprise in quotes, reveal about 1 and 2 also getting the same treatment. There was a lot of rumors prior to the Direct about 1 and 2 being added to 3, and that's why it took so long. But the developers have come out and said, we announced this too early. We should have waited another year or so that way the wait wasn't so long. So they were being honest. And then 1 and 2 is coming out next year. So they basically got the engine, they got what they want these games to be like. 1 and 2 could probably very easily fit into the mold here. It takes place in the same area of Dragon Quest lore, since they're all connected. But yeah, this looks fan-freaking-tastic, and I've wanted to play 3, but I really didn't like the initial Switch version, which was the mobile port. It just doesn't look good to me. I don't like those mobile ports. So this will be how I experience 3 for the first time, and I'm very excited. One thing I do want to point out, and I think this is important to point out, once we get the full reveal of the full art, is, since the name's actually here, I can say it. So, Akira Toriyama has passed away, and I wonder if Square Enix had been in discussion with him as his health was declining, because this is done by Naoki Ikushima, and it's absolutely incredible artwork, and it's the first time, generally speaking, I mean, I'm sure Toriyama's crew were helping with other Dragon Quest projects, but this is the first time another artist has been deliberately named for doing the art for Dragon Quest, because it's always been like Toriyama is doing the art for Dragon Quest, but now we have somebody different, and I like this look. I think this is a great approach to Dragon Quest, because it still captures Toriyama's whimsy, but it's also distinct, and it's a new generation of where this franchise could go. So, paying respects and evolving. I think it looks great. And I'm excited about this entire enterprise. And I hope that these sell well and we can maybe get 4. I would love to see 4 get the same treatment. And then, of course, the elephant in the room is, could Chrono Trigger be getting some sort of similar treatment? Toriyama art style, they've kind of translated it really well into this 2D HD thing with Dragon Quest. Could Chrono Trigger be made by the same team when they're done with these? I wouldn't complain, but that's getting even more into dreams, and we had plenty of them fulfilled in this particular Direct. So we will move on. That Fungo game looked terrible, by the way, if you saw it down in the thumbnail. Tied with the Looney Tunes game for my least impressive, but anyway, we'll not talk crap about games. So the new NSO offerings, all of them are great. Four Swords getting re-released is great with online play. We can finally play that with 4 players. Zero Mission finally getting released. Wonderful news. One of the best Metroid games. And then we also get the Mature 17 Plus Nintendo 64 online app that we got hints of in other countries. And we're starting with Turok and Perfect Dark here. Turok's kind of an odd duck, honestly, for this, because there's a remake that's available that looks a lot better and probably plays a little better than the original N64 game. But we're not going to get much better than getting the original N64 Perfect Dark. I booted it up for a little bit. It plays okay on a controller. that's not the N64 controller, but there's nothing quite right in terms of the layouts available because they were designed for an N64 controller. So I'm looking forward to finally digging out that N64 Switch controller that I bought, and this will be my next LP. I am so excited to get back into Perfect Dark. I spent literal days playing the online mode solo because it's so fun, and now I gotta unlock all that stuff in this version. So we're gonna have some fun doing LPs of Perfect Dark for a while once I'm done with RE4. This was my most coveted N64 game in terms of what could come to NSO, and I'm beyond myself that it's actually here. I didn't expect it so soon, honestly. So I'm really happy about that, and can't wait to dig into it more. I'm going to talk about this new Phantom Brave very briefly. I think it looks really interesting. The art style is a little too cutesy, perhaps, for my liking, and the voice acting is possibly on the obnoxious side. But I think the core conceit of the gameplay looks really interesting. And I might pick it up if the reviews are really good. I've never played the original Phantom Brave. And unfortunately, Phantom Brave kind of had a little bit of its undertaken by Zelda because it's kind of a similar idea of you take control of objects and use them in a particular way. But that's okay. I think it's a good addition to the Switch. And then I lost my goddamn mind. I lost it. I genuinely was not ready for this. Nobody was ready for this. This right here is the stuff dreams are made of. Because this is impossible. This was believed to be inconceivable. To have Marvel and Capcom reconnect after the dismal failure of Infinite to re-release the old games on a console. We had Arcade 1-Up cabinets doing that job because they are licensed differently, and Arcade 1-Up's paying the licensing fees, not Capcom. Capcom and Marvel reconnecting to bring all of the games, not just 2, not skipping X-Men, all of them that were in the arcades. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. This is life-changing for me and for a lot of fighting game fans. I still am in shock. This is the type of thing that I got in my head when I was trying to wind down for the evening, and I like to just pretend things like Capcom vs. SNK Collection or Capcom 3D Fighting Collection, and this not only brought one of those into reality that I never thought would have the ability to be real ever again, but it also opens up so many more possibilities because Fighting Collection is now a thing. It's a series now. We had Capcom Fighting Collection. We have Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, Arcade Classics. We know almost assuredly, thanks to the Season 2 of Street Fighter VI, that Capcom vs. SNK is in discussion right now. We know that's happening. We know that Capcom and SNK are working out the particulars of how to do that. The doors open. And with Marvel vs. Capcom 2 being a Naomi board game, that means 3D games are on the table because Marvel vs. Capcom 2 has 3D backgrounds. So a 3D fighting collection with Rival Schools, Star Gladiator, and Power Stone are on the table now. Games that we couldn't get on CPS 1 or 2 boards are now possible for an arcade stadium, potentially. We could get like Techromancer. We could get Cannon Spike. We could get Mars Matrix. There's so much potential now that we have kicked the door down with this. This opens up a whole new world of Capcom possibilities for their compilations. I'm beside myself. I love these games. These are the games that got me to learn how to play fighting games. Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and the Dreamcast taught me how to play. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was my best ever results in fighting somebody in the arcade. I had a grand time before I literally bought the Dreamcast version. We're getting concept art and music and rollback netcode, flashing disabled, secret characters unlocked, including some that have never been playable without modification through emulation. This is dream level material. And we're getting the X-Men games where they're not being shoved aside because of Disney having a beef with Fox over those characters anymore. Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection is like heaven. And I know that sounds silly, but it's true for people who care about these games. You saw my reaction, I hope. Otherwise, you can check it out. I'll put the link in the description. But like, if you have any semblance of passion for these games, this is news that just like made your day, made your year, made your life, maybe. It changes everything about what we can expect from Capcom. The only way this could be better is if, while they were talking to Marvel, they poked over to Disney and said, hey, could we throw Aliens vs. Predator on here too? But I suspect that's coming eventually because this opens doors. I'm not going to talk too long about Super Mario Party Jamboree. I think that this is capitalism. This is ultimately what this is. We have literal Mario Party Superstars DLC in this game for no reason beyond clearly they decided they wanted more money. That's how I feel about this game, is that these 5 new boards look really fun. The way that they redesigned the 2 old boards look really fun. There's 110 new mini games. They're going ham on this one with like all these new 20-player Koopa-thon, or however they're calling it. This game looks fantastic. But I really feel like those 2 extra retro boards right here, pop their names up, were intended for Mario Party Superstars, and they just decided to throw them into this game instead because they get more money. However, it does make this the most feature-rich Mario Party in terms of boards since like the N64. There's 7. 5 new ones, 2 retro ones. Arguably, 2 of the best boards on the N64 are coming to this. And there's lots of characters, lots of new online stuff. It looks like a good time, but I really just can't help but feel like this is capitalism. Anyway, speaking of dreams, speaking of something that I never thought Nintendo would ever do, because they just have resisted doing it for nearly 40 years. A mainline Legend of Zelda game that has its titular princess as the protagonist. It's amazing that it's happening. That Link is going to be in the background, and Zelda is going to be who you play as. I really cannot express how important this is. Not only to this series, but for Nintendo as a whole. And we're going to pause here with this really dramatic moment when I fully realized Zelda's the star of this game. That, I write books about the history of Nintendo's development of its women and female characters as well as third parties called Femtendo. I am literally working on the 1987 book, which has the second Zelda game, and I have compiled a list of every Zelda in the Nintendo games, plus Cadence of Hyrule and the Warriors games, because Nintendo was more directly involved with those. I'm not including the CDI games because they don't exist on Nintendo hardware. It's a testament to how little Zelda has truly mattered in the grand scheme of the franchise, with how many times she's been relegated to I need to be rescued, which is almost all of them. It's disappointing. It's shameful. And I basically now have to look at what I wrote in this upcoming book that is not coming out for a few more months yet. I have to add this entirely new thing that Echoes of Wisdom, Zelda's playable. It's her game. This is her Zelda game. It's her name. The series has been her name. It has never been about her legend. Until now. It's always been about Link. Echoes of Wisdom changes the narrative. We finally have Zelda as the starring role, the playable character. This is monumental on so many levels that it's going to probably take another video or an article for me to fully express it. So I'm going to stop, but this is Dreams again. And I strongly believe, when we look at this shot in more detail, and some people have already jumped to this assumption as well, that this could have been a Link to the Past remake by Grezzo with the same engine as Link's Awakening, and somewhere along the way they went, you know what would be more interesting than just remaking a game that, you know, we people have played obsessively? Let's do something different. Let's do a game with Zelda as the protagonist. Let's make Link secondary and make Zelda the playable character. Because if you look at this map, we've got Hyrule Castle to the left, we've got this similar rock structure in the middle, we have what looks like the Great Labyrinth on the right, and this overlook is above, like, Lake Hylia, I think, is where this is located. I could be wrong. But that cave that's on the, like, mid-right of your screen, that's also in Link to the Past. So, like, we've got Death Mountain in the background, but then there's another Death Mountain to your left. So, clearly this is taking some inspiration from Link to the Past. It probably started as a remake of Link to the Past. They changed it, and it's going to be better for it. And I haven't even got to the mechanics of what this is going to look like. Zelda doesn't use a sword. She's not courage. She's wisdom. And so they utilized her Triforce in a different way. And this is Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom in a top-down Zelda. So Zelda can copy items with her tri-rod. The little fairy companion with you, Tri. The triangles behind it indicate how many times you can drop a copy of something before it disappears, and then you can restock. So as you grab items, you can only do this like 4 times. And then you'll eventually Tri will get triangles back, and then you can do more stuff. The tri-rod's not the only option you can pick. There's an up, a down, and a left that's currently blank in all of the screenshots here. So there's going to be more than just the tri-rod, but we are only shown the tri-rod. Zelda's buff, because she could pick up that huge boulder and throw it. She can copy enemies to have them attack for her, but it costs more. There's 2 triangles over their heads. So like that fish has 2 triangles. You have to use your mind to solve all of these interesting ways of getting through the environments, fighting enemies, getting where you need to go. Zelda has a basic jump right off the bat. That's Impa. There's 2 different Zora types. There's old school and new school. So this game just is going ham on so many interesting mechanics. Like the Redead here has 3, so that's a lot of your triangles. I am also blown away that this is coming out in 3 months. Like Grezzo, apparently when they finished Link's Awakening, they just got into this, and they've been working hard on this. And I can't wait. This is my 3rd most excited thing that came out of this Direct, behind Marvel vs. Capcom and Metroid Prime 4, and it means a lot. It means a lot to me to have a playable Zelda. I have wanted a playable Zelda for decades, and we're finally getting it in a proper mainline game. I don't have to play Hyrule Warriors. I don't have to play Smash. I can play a Zelda game with Zelda as the star. I cannot even begin to tell you how happy I am. Speaking of dreams, Capcom's back with more dream material. Ace Attorney Investigations Miles Edgeworth was one of the last DS games Capcom put out for this series, and apparently it didn't sell well enough to localize the second. So they didn't. And so we've had an incomplete Ace Attorney experience in the West ever since. Until now. Capcom is localizing the second game for the first time. So we're getting both Ace Attorney Investigations games. And they're putting in work. Like they have been. Ever since the first Ace Attorney collection, which was Phoenix Wright 1, 2, 3, which I think Capcom did not put in their full attention or effort, and they realized that people want these games, and they read the comments and like, okay, these games need to be treated better. And they did great Ace Attorney Chronicles and set a new bar. And then Apollo Justice set the bar even higher. And now this is setting the bar higher still. If I could not have it skip that far ahead, because I'm trying to show off something. Come on. Give me some gameplay where they're standing and walking around. There we go. Thank you. This is not how the DS games looked. The DS games had a very charming pixel style. They have gotten the character designer and probably some other artists to redraw all of those sprites in HD look, which looks phenomenal. They look great. But you know what they also did? You can turn on the original pixel art and it looks good. It's not smeared. It doesn't look bad. this is how you do it. This is how you should be doing your ports of these types of games. If you're going to HD it, give the option to go to the original art and don't smear the hell out of it. Capcom is putting on a clinic with their compilations. Between Marvel vs. Capcom and this, it's like they're winning. And these are all in-house. They have a team now that is optimizing their ports and their compilations impeccably. I can't believe how good this looks, and that you can play it old school or with the brand new art that looks really, really well done. All bunch of concept art, a huge amount of music, including the orchestral arrangements, and the second game getting localized. This is amazing. I'm so ecstatic that this is happening. And as a reminder, Apollo Justice came out this year. That trilogy is not that old, so this was probably being worked on concurrently and just needed a little bit more time. Absolutely phenomenal. I didn't really give this, I think, the attention it deserves. This, again, kind of got smushed between Ace Attorney Investigations and, like, Capcom being God tier again, and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. But this also looks really good. This is a remake of the Super Famicom Romancing Saga 2, which we already had a more, like, a remaster of. But this is a remake, and it looks like possibly the most accessible Saga game that I have seen. And I own most of them. I've not even touched them. I'm just trying to keep the support for Square Enix's interesting mid-tier projects going. And Saga is apparently very important. They're keeping it going. But this is a really cool game concept. And I didn't really know much about it. And not being able to hear anything made it difficult. So the guy on the left here is the first emperor you play as, and as you play the game, you become different emperors. And I think if you die, the next emperor comes into place. So you've got to build relationships, you work on taking over countries and trying to unify things. Your choices matter, so like this girl who's sitting here in the middle, if you chose the other option, or you didn't manage to defeat the enemies that were harassing her, she wouldn't be here. However, there's different versions of this character archetype that don't quite look the same but are slightly different. So like her class, so to speak, she'll have like a different hairband or different colors, or she won't have the shawl on, or she'll have different leggings. That's how this game works, and the more I'm learning about how this game works, the more intrigued I'm getting by it. It sounds really interesting to me. So this could be my first Saga game since Unlimited Saga that I actually give a shot to, despite owning nearly all of them. Because it just sounds really fascinating. The biggest downside to it, from what I've heard, is that we've lost the original art style for something that just kind of has a bit more of a generic anime vibe. So thank you, Saga Wiki. So this is art from the Super Famicom version of Romancing Saga 2. I need to remember her name. Tomomi Kobayashi. Okay, let's jump back. Very, very distinct style, and her art was very common for the early Saga games. And that's just kind of lost. Like, this is not how this game looks. In comparison, this is the art for the remake. And it's still nice, don't get me wrong. It's still well done, but it is not the same aesthetic. It is not. the same vibe. It's definitely got more of a just very safe anime aesthetic. And the women are designed a particular way, you know. You know, I don't need to get into it. But I am still very interested in how the gameplay looks. It looks really interesting. I'll probably need to think about playing the remaster as well. But that's kind of the current situation on Romantic Saga 2, is that it, again, really cool game that I'm glad is getting a remake, but it's behind it was immediately swallowed by Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. The game we've been waiting 7 freaking years to see, more than a logo. And it was worth the wait. It was worth the wait. I have watched this trailer multiple times now. And much like me, people got emotional seeing this game in motion for the first time. This game means a lot. Metroid means a lot. The Prime games have done a lot of goodwill for the series. Even if you're not a fan of the first person, don't like the scanning, whatever the reasoning is, Prime brought a lot of people into Metroid. And it I think has done a lot to help establish what I visualize Samus as. And seeing it come back so triumphantly, with Dread being one of the best examples of the 2D Metroid games, that did so much good work to eliminate the bane of fan service out of it entirely. Kudos to Mercury Steam for that. The first game that did it was Metroid Prime, the original one. Retro did it first, and then they kind of got retrofitted into putting the Zero Suit in for Echoes of Corruption. I don't think they're going to do that with Beyond. I think we are at a point where Samus can be a woman in armor and generally stay in that armor for the entire game. And we don't need to have a reward for beating the game quickly to take it off. Thank God that trend is ending. I hope. I really hope that Retro doesn't throw that in, because it's really important to Samus as a character to not have her be a pinup for playing well. Anyway, soapbox over. 2025 could still be that Switch 2 hybrid title. But I think out of everything in this direct, this looks the nicest. Mario & Luigi looks really nice too, but it's very clear that Retro, through Metroid Prime Remastered, got their stuff together to do this game. Because that remaster is still one of the best looking games on the Switch. One of the best looking games in the GameCube, so it had a really high bar to set, and it rose above my expectations. Visually, this is already looking like this could be the best Switch game in terms of just pure graphic fidelity. 7 years of development, switching developers midway through, starting from scratch, Retro basically having to scrap anything it was working on to work on this. There's going to be an impossible amount of expectations to hit for people with this game. But if anyone can do it, based on Remastered, I think Retro could. This is a really good start, and they're committed. They brought Silux back from Hunters, and little teases and echoes and corruption. They've got a plan. So yeah, that was a great way to end this Direct of Dreams. All right, well, I'm still, and I've watched this Direct probably 20 times now through myself, editing my reaction, plus all of the other reactions I've watched. I like to do that to kind of get a general consensus, and it's just fun. I like reaction videos. And like, the prevailing attitude I'm seeing is that this was one of Nintendo's best Directs ever, and I can't disagree. This was, I'm going to give it an A because of quite a few factors. One, they're releasing things I didn't expect them to release. They got great third-party support and some really good hype third-party announcements to back up their own. And they didn't treat this like the Switch is dying. We know that the Switch successor is coming out next year. We know that. And yet, you wouldn't know it from this year's lineup. They're still bringing some really top caliber stuff. So I gotta give a high ranking to this one. Even if there was quite a few games that didn't quite catch my eye, there was a lot that did. And there were so many dreams, as I said at the top, fulfilled in this Direct. Marvel vs. Capcom's back. Zelda's starring in her own mainline game. Metroid Prime 4 exists. It's a real game. Dragon Quest 3 2D HD. We finally get to see it and have a release date, and we're getting 1 and 2 as well. Mario and Luigi is resurrected from the dead. Like, there was just so much here. Ace Attorney's Investigations too. Like, we're getting the second game. Right? Just absolutely wild altogether. I'm still having trouble comprehending it all. But I'm very excited. I've been excited since yesterday. I'm waiting for stuff to go up on pre-order because I want all these things. But alas, I must wait. Thank you for joining me in this post-direct response reaction. I don't know what to call it. It's not really a reaction because I reacted already. We will be back sometime soon. I've actually recorded the next episode. I'm just going to give it a little bit of space because I've been doing a lot of videos lately and I kind of want to not have them so tightly bound. So that'll be probably coming up next week sometime, I guess. So, till then, I hope you have a good set of days till we meet again, and take care.